Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Thrift Store Horde. This is a special episode, not for the reasons we would like it to be a special episode. As you'll notice, there are only two of us here today. Um, so most of you that are watching this video are probably aware, if you're part of the Retro Network family or a subscriber, is that the captain of our thrifting ship and the co-creator of the Retro Network, Jason Gross, he passed away unexpectedly a few weeks back. It was a big shock to his family, to all of us, to just everybody close to him. So we were sad to lose him so abruptly. It's a situation where I think a lot of us are still trying to deal with that situation, but it was all the more shocking to us on Thrift Store Horde because literally the day before he passed, we had just recorded a Thrift Store Horde video all together. Kevin was here, we were sharing our things, he was all smiles and laughs, and then the next day we heard the news that he was gone, and wow, yeah, just a lot. Do you have any thoughts, Kevin?
Um, I Adam and I are in a group for the Retro Network, and a lot of you viewers probably are as well. And there's been a lot of discussion in that of how the Retro Network is moving forward and what we're all doing, and new roles and new ideas and stuff like that. But pretty much that we want to continue. We want to continue not only the Retro Network, but Thrift Store Horde as well. And some longer thoughts I have, whenever it's been discussed, there's going to be a longer tribute, whatever format that takes. There is going to be a longer one, and I hope it is an infinite amount of space, because I think a lot of us have a lot that we need to get out for it, including myself, whether it's a podcast, whether it's written, whether it's video. I don't know yet. But I think my main thoughts are going to wait for that.
Yeah, but
However,
your point about continuing on is definitely a big part of it, just from the perspective of Jason loved thrift store hunting. He loved finding the treasures. In fact, at his service, his funeral service, many of the people that got up and spoke were just friends of his from his community and stuff. They're like, he took me on trips to go to thrift stores, like I was his thrifting buddy. And we're all like, what? Like he just made it a way of life. His wife would go with him often. So it was just something that he really enjoyed, and we want to kind of keep his memory alive by celebrating that hobby and that excitement that he had for it. So that's one reason why Thrift Store Horde will continue.
and there's a legacy aspect to it as well. Jason has beautiful children. That's his true legacy in life. But this thing that we get to do with him, things for the Retro Network and all, let's continue to keep these things out there and on the internet. And coincidentally, this week we saw a long-term site just up and closed its doors, and thousands of pages of knowledge and fun gone. And I don't want that to happen with anything Retro Network ever, or Thrift Store Horde. This keeps Jason around. This keeps all of us connected. This, community, this family that has ended up coming from all of us just being goofy geeks for stuff, and it's been wonderful. And I, like Adam said, we had just recorded with Jason, and my assumption was, that's like Em said, it was the next day, so it wasn't a video that got to be edited and posted and anything like that. But I wasn't able to do it for the last year or so, and I got one more in, and despite that, most likely never seeing upload, not print, but upload for it, I have this great conversation that I got to have with Adam and Jason, that thankfully I was able to get that one in, and I'll always treasure that. No matter what happens, I'll always treasure that, have that. And And again, whatever format something takes later on, I'll probably go into more feelings. But that day, I didn't know what to do. I'm not close enough to stop by and see if I can do anything. I'm thinking stuff, and I've seen my own life. People come by with food, and things like that, and all. Like, I'm not close enough to do anything like that. I went thrifting. I put on my thrift store shirt, and I went thrifting. And I was just like, this is my way of doing something, and it helped me that day.
Yeah,
Helped me a lot.
absolutely. I mean, it's we all do our little tribute to Jason the way we can to continue to feel connected to him, and we get to do that here, which is great. Still be together. So let's get into that then. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been finding while we've been out there, because really, I mean, there's always a treasure around the corner on the shelf somewhere, that we're gonna keep an eye out for our keenly trained sense of thrifting. So do you have some books this time around, Kevin? What have you been finding?
I have mostly books,
Okay.
like very much mostly books, magazines, which are books adjacent, and and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it, a random, very surprising toy find.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So,
Well, good. Well,
so
we've been having some book fairs around here, so I definitely have some books, got some VHS, little DVD, and then yeah, just a little kind of toy random odds and ends that I'll bring up at the end here. So, do you want to start off with your books? I'm very curious to see what you've been picking up.
all right. So, well, I'll start with magazines actually, just because they're in a different pile here. They're all the same magazine, you would think, but they're not. Because out of nowhere, I found 2022, and we're the same age. Remember when you can get the cards that were the stickers and you could get the album to put the stickers in?
Absolutely.
Isn't quite that, but I think it's a similar idea, and it's from Panini. It's 2022, so it's out of date. So these were dirt cheap, just pennies on the dollar sitting there. But it is when NXT rebranded as NXT 2.0 with a whole new group. So there's 3 packs of cards in the front, and then like a big poster of one of the talents. And it's pretty much like just one of 2 of them. I have not opened them yet because I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. On one hand, I could just save them like this and probably resell them and whatever. I don't need all of these, but they were pure cheap, so I grabbed them. But on the other hand, there's what's known as rookie cards that could appear in these, including the hottest rising superstar in WWE right now today. Do this for my friends. L.A. Knight, yeah, has his rookie card when he was not L.A. Knight, when he was doing the male model management group of Max Dupree. So that character has a rookie card that could be one of these in here, and that card keeps going up and up and up and up, which would cover a lot here. But I would have to find it. So my debate is actually when and if I do decide to open these, I think I might open them on a YouTube one. Just open them all live, taped whenever people watch it. But I think I might do that. It is interesting for those that know their stuff. Braun Breaker's still there. Mandy Rose is not, for reasons. But maybe that's why someplace had to get rid of these quick. Like, hey, she's no longer there, so let's get rid of anything that she's on. That is my guess. But I mean, and it's the stuff that I found on this trip was like, yeah, Jason's with me on this. For me, I have found junk for forever. And as we were going to me being like, back on these, I'm like, I haven't found anything. Even if I could be on today, I got nothing. Like that just kept happening. And this trip was great. All right, so those magazines, I'm gonna throw the comics in with this because comics being magazine adjacent. Adam, with Wizards, you are aware that there's certain popular artists. I believe you've been talking about one of them recently. And even when they only do covers, those covers seem to sell out fast and go up in price, and someone did not know what they had. Because I have J. Scott Campbell Amazing Spider-Man covers.
$1.
$1.
Wow.
Now, if only the Mary Jane drinking coffee was in there. I know what that sells for right now. I just want that. It's such a ridiculous cover at this point. It's like that's getting up there to Liefeld's Captain America. Like it's just like we're getting to that level of that. But I'm like, J. Scott Campbell Mary Jane covers for nothing. Yeah, these are mine now. I there's a secret Instagram account that I don't even know if Adam's aware of it. I have a second Instagram account of ridiculous art that I need to start being more active on. These might go on there. I'll tell you later if you're not aware of it.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
You're really not? Okay.
Nope, you'll have to message me. Give it to me, your secret account. Okay. On my book side, like I say, like our library has had a book sale, and there's just been like all these different places where I go, I'm like, oh, okay, we got some 80s and 90s books here that I'm kind of excited about. Some maybe a little bit earlier. So let's start with, how about the novelization of Grease? I want to know how you do a novelization of a musical. And I was in the production in high school, which is a little bit different than the movie script. So I wonder, did they like mesh the two? There's more to it. What do you think?
Okay, you know the theory of the ending now, right?
That they all died and they go to heaven?
Yeah. I'm very curious what the ending is in the book. If it might expand on that. Who were you in the production?
I was Kinnicky. So I got to in the stage production, he sings Greased Lightning. So I got a whole like Elvis style number. It was really fun. That was a good one. But
I tried so hard to do Grease in high school, but I went to a Catholic high school and they said no.
Oh, bummer. This is what I don't know if I've shown this off in the past. I feel like I may have gotten it because I've been picking up a lot of Star Wars books recently, but this is the first paperback publication, it says. So I don't know if that's first paperback publication of this book, like it had a hardcover release, or in the Star Wars mythos. That doesn't seem right, but maybe there's some Star Wars historian out there who can tell me. This one, though, was really cool. I've never seen one of these before.
What is that?
This is the Find Your Fate books that Jason loved for G.I. Joe and things like that. Mm-hmm. This is James Bond, A View to a Kill, adjacent. It's like related to A View to a Kill, but it's a choose your own adventure style book. But with James Bond, it's got illustrations in it. Like it's a really cool like little piece. Again, I've not seen any James Bond related literature like this before. So fun to find at the end of Roger Moore's run. Speaking of choose your own adventure, though, check this one out.
Why is it oversized?
It's hardcover. I have another one of these that's an Alice in Wonderland choose your own adventure hardcover oversized. And as you see here, you get 8 books, $3.79, all that. It's a weekly reader release. So it was basically like sign up to get your books and they all come in. So there you go.
No.
So anyway, so I just thought that was cool because I love these books. I keep trying to get my kids excited about the idea because they love playing the Netflix games where you get to choose. So this one I had to pick up. I had this as a kid, and just as is always the joke with parenting, the kids, when I have an oversized box, that's worth more than any toy I seem to get them. They built their spaceships or whatever. So I don't know if anybody else remembers this book, but this was a big one for me where the girl just imagines all these different things to do with her box. And I remember specifically asking my mom to bring home a big box if she could find one and setting it up in the backyard and doing all the stuff she did in the book. So that was cool. This is just another of the Sweet Pickles series. I've been slowly building up my collection here, just one book at a time. Check these out, though. I don't know if you have any idea about this series of books here, Kevin. These are called an action game, okay? And these are, so it's not really a book. So it says football, right? But you open it up, and it's basically these dials and things that you turn and it changes things. It doesn't have pieces. I don't think it was supposed to have pieces. I think it's literally there's some other instruction about it on the back, that tells you how to play the game. But like, so that one's a football one. This one, obviously, Star Force One, same idea, but with spaceships.
I feel okay now that you opened up. I may have seen one. I mean, when I was a kid, but the pop-up part was gone, so it just looked like a junky book. Seeing it in its full format, that looks fun. I would have been all over that had I seen the full presentation.
Yeah, it feels like something you take on a road trip, right? Then you're playing the game in the background. So that was kind of cool. Then I went to the thrift store. I was super excited. I want to find the tapes to go with them, but I found a bunch of book and cassette storybooks, but kind of ones you don't find all the time because you always find Disney. And I did grab one of the Disney ones.
Ooh.
I have this album, and for my other podcast, the Two Goofs podcast, there's a song in here called Watch Out for Goofy. And I use that as the theme song for the Two Goofs podcast. But
yes, you do.
I got a couple Rainbow Brite books.
Ooh.
Okay. So Save Spring, I'm pretty sure I had in a slightly larger format, but this one and the Brook Meadow Deer, I just thought that was a very specific accompaniment to Rainbow Brite. But I also grabbed a couple of Get Along Gang books, which are other ones. I just found a Get Along Gang, again, a larger kind of a hardback version of this for the school. But then the Big Bully, I have this one that I read to my daughter a lot, but it was missing pages. And now we have the whole story. Whereas before I was like, I don't understand why this is happening. But then I found, again, one of these larger ones about the Tattletale. And there's all these characters in this series that you don't see on the cartoon. So there's a lot of extra kids. There's this squirrel girl, there's this bunny, there's a turtle. Like, so it's like they have all these members of the gang that not everybody knows about.
Well, look at what cartoon? Shoot, now I can't remember if it was. I think it was Annoying is Half the Podcast, talking about characters that came along later on. So like the cartoon still went on, but there wasn't a toy. So we got these weird characters, or maybe it's the other way around. We end up getting toys, but the cartoon was done. I wonder if that's a later Get Along Gang, and we were going to release these characters, and we're going to have toys and stuff, but then it got pulled. But the book's going to be easier to make than a figure or a cartoon, so they exist in the book, but that was it, and we never ended up going further with a third season or whatever.
I think it's the opposite, though. I think they started out with the intention of here's all the characters in the world. And then when they decided to make the animated series, they're like, this is too much. Like, we're going to pare it down a little bit, like so we don't have too much redundancy in types of characters. There's only like so many personalities, you have time to focus.
Yeah.
So, I did get a couple more Alf books. So these are pretty fun. This one's hilarious. Oh, not this one. This one, because Alf goes to a fair, he plays a bunch of carnival games, he gets lost, and he doesn't ride the roller coaster until the very last page, So it's like this is like the movie poster that gives away the ending, Grabbed Powerpuff Girl just because my daughter loves Powerpuff Girls, yeah. So that was cool. Check out this old book.
What?
Yeah, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, just like super old school. This is like from the 70s. So this was just a neat one to see. I got that from the library book sale along with this. So Tales of a Golden Book. This one was cool. Speaking of comics, I rarely find them, but I'm always looking in the kids section because a lot of times they just shove them in there, So these are Dark Horse comics in there. So that was a cool find.
Those were fun. Your early mid 90s, before the re-releases of the Star Wars movies and before Phantom Menace, people forget Star Wars was a forgotten property. It was gone. And Dark Horse, that Tales of Jedi series was actually really good, but it was it for new Star Wars. They weren't really doing books, they weren't doing anything. That actually is pretty good. You'll have fun with that one.
That's what I've heard, that just like the total expanded comic book universe was a big deal. Getting back to Rainbow Brite, though, found a hardback book. This one about gets rescued. My daughter loves Rainbow Brite. She still goes to bed every night listening to Rainbow Brite story tapes that I do have, so it's just awesome. I just love these ones in particular. But this one, Strawberry Shortcake, okay? The winter that would not end. But look at this model. Look at this art style. That looks nothing like the toys. It looks nothing
No.
like anything you've seen. And I wonder if this was like just one of the first ever released, and they're just like, we got an artist to interpret it, but it does, there's no synergy with the toy line, right? With everything they're doing to merchandise the character. So I just thought that was a really interesting find, because again, I was just like, okay, it says strawberry shortcake, but maybe it looks more like Holly Hobby, you know?
I can't explain why, but for some reason that looks more Canadian to me. And I don't know why. Maybe like, did you ever see the Snowman?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Snowman always played on the Canadian channels when I was growing up in upstate New York, so I equate it with being a Canadian production. I don't know if it is or not, but that's how I think of it. And that just something is getting that same energy for me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can definitely see that vibe. The last one here, everybody's anticipating the sequel here, or part two at least. But yeah, the Dune storybook. I've found in the past like a Dune VHS that had this booklet inside that kind of explained the universe to help you understand the movie. But just the pages on this were so crisp, like they're just good looking. So all the pictures and everything, you don't get that very often with these storybooks. So that was another just fun find. But Kevin, what else you got over there?
Funny side tangent there. When I left a bunch of books at my parents when I moved out. Well, my mom's not my parents, but like at some point I need to actually go through and donate or take what I want or whatever. And I've been saying at some point for many, many years. There's at least 4 or 5 copies of Dune up there because I always forgot I had it. And I still haven't read it.
So just different editions of the
Different
novel.
covers, yeah, of the same book, exact same book. But I would forget I had it. All right. One of the things I enjoyed doing to Adam and to Jason on the show, and you wouldn't know it, but because I like to ham it up and play the character and everything, the Hellions and all. But I go to church every week, and I was raised Catholic and everything. But every so often, I would enjoy Jason kind of like just shaking his head at something I found. And I kind of would do it on purpose a little bit. I'll admit it. So I was out thrifting, and I found the most ridiculous, like just 2 shelves of manga. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just grab anything that even a 1% interest out of me or more. Anything that I have absolutely zero, I'll leave on here for someone else. But anything that like maybe I could get something out of this or enjoyment or an article or anything, I just grabbed all of them.
Right.
It was obviously like someone's collection just gone all at once. All right. I have no idea what Boys B is. It looked kind of like punk rocky music thing. Maybe will you stop doing that? If anyone can tell me how to turn that off.
You gotta talk to Vern. Vern is just drooping there. He's falling down on the
job. Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
My goodness, that's a title.
Yes, so he falls in love with this bunny girl. Is she an actual bunny girl? Does she just wear the hats? I don't know. Girlfriends, the complete collection. They're safe, but one's safer. So I'm like, all right, I'll it's okay, but I'll just be careful. Donuts under a crescent moon. I have no idea. Is it just like an adventure in a donut store in a bakery or whatever? Like, do they love I don't know. Do you like Nerdy Nurse? I don't know. Why is she nerdy? Does she read comics? I don't know. Okay. Then, amazingly, I found ones I actually knew and wanted. I was shocked. So I found DramaCon, which confused me for years with another one. It's pretty much like some kids that are getting together, they're putting together their own manga to sell. Manga conventions in Japan are absurd. Like what Comic Cons are for us, double it, 10 times that. Like they're crazy. But a lot of them are people that are just like, I made my own, I'm trying to sell, I'm trying to get noticed. It's almost like indie wrestling in a way. Like I'm going to be down here at this level with 10 people watching it, hoping to build my way up. So I read one that I loved. It was all about this process. Here's some people that get together, they're trying to succeed in everything. This is not the one, though. This is the one that always confused. I would always find this one and not the one I actually enjoyed. So I'm like, you know what? It's volume 1. let me finally try it. But then I found the one I actually enjoyed. It's right next to it.
Comic Party.
Comic party time. It's so stupid. It's just friends getting together and making manga and stuff happens. Oh, we tripped and the pages fell in the muddy puddle, and now we got to recreate them, and we got 24 hours before the convention, so we got to redo it, stapled all together and everything. It was just silly, fun adventures. But I love, like you've shown for Wizards, Palmer's Picks or other ones, Bill Tucci, like the DIY ones of like, I had the story I wanted to tell and I sacrificed myself to get it out there. Maybe successful, maybe not, but I tried my best. And it was just like, is it stupid fictionalized version of it? Yeah, but it was fun. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So I was glad to find some of those. Most likely I'll finally sit down to read them at some point, and most will go away immediately.
Well, and I'll just say, I mean, as we've said over and over again, you find manga, you buy it because it will sell. Somebody wants it out there on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
It's so popular.
And they, like, I don't know the exact print run for things. Like, we know the whole Alan Moore story, as long as Watchmen's in print, stuff like that. I don't know the exact print run for manga, but I do know there's a handful I can expect to see every time I go to a store, and there's a bunch I've only seen once and never again.
Okay, I'm gonna get into some home media here. Get excited about what we have here. So I'll start with DVD, just because it's weird that DVDs are starting to become collectible now, especially like everybody thinks, oh, it's on streaming, and then it comes off streaming, and then all of a sudden everybody wants the DVDs again, right? But the first one I bought was something I thought was only on streaming. I didn't know it got a physical media release, and that's 8-Bit Christmas. So if anybody hasn't watched this, it was released last Christmas on Max. It's great. Like it's 100% just wants to be a Christmas story, but it's set in the 80s and it's about a Nintendo, and it's really charming and it's really fun. It's something that I was just so excited to have a physical copy of. Should I ever give up my Max subscription, I'll be ready to go. The other one was, I found one of these previously, and then I put them together, and I didn't know which one was the new one anymore. So I'm just going to show them both. But the Super Mario Brothers Super Show on DVD. So I try to grab these because it was on Netflix, and I don't know if it still is anymore. But it's just fun to get these episodes. It doesn't, to my recollection, when I watched these before, have like the Captain Lou Albano. It doesn't have the live action portions. It's just the cartoon. Now, unfortunately, so I have this one. This one was supposed to be a 2-disc deal, but it only had 1 disc. But I'll take what I can get, I'm bound to find it eventually. I've seen others that were just empty altogether, didn't have the disc at all. They're trying to sell the thing there. The other one was Clarissa Explains It All, Season 1.
Did not even know that was released on DVD.
Exactly, right? And that's why I grabbed it. Plus, it actually has a bunch of special features on here. So it's got Melissa Joan Hart on MTV Cribs. I want to know what that looks like. Why did they go to her house? Does she have a bunch of Clarissa memorabilia, something? I don't know. I'm going to check that out. There's a Nickelodeon time capsule from 1991 to 1993, just like the heyday of that Snick and all that. So I'm curious to see what that's about. So anyway, there's just a lot of fun stuff there. Now, in terms of VHS here real quick, these two I just grabbed because I took a stack of VHS up at this thrift store, and they're like, I only had 8 tapes. So they're like, well, do you want 10? I'm like, why do I want 10? They're like, well, they're 10 for $1 right now. I'm like, what? So I ran back real quick and grabbed something. So I grabbed Small Soldiers and Dennis the Menace and the Clamshells. They're ones I didn't have yet. So I was just like, I remember seeing Dennis the Menace in theaters. Small Soldiers I've always wanted to check out. So that was just a cool one, because there was, especially in the comics I'm reading right now from 1998, when I just go through a single issue, there's a lot of Small Soldiers promotion. They did a lot of cool stuff for it. But as far as other VHS that were in that stack, so this is what I've just always wanted to see, Ed TV with Matthew McConaughey. It's just the cast on this. Plus, I've never seen Elizabeth Hurley just play a regular person, which I assume she does in this one. She's always the devil or a secret agent. But I love that it came from Video Maniacs. That's just one of the best video store names I've had. This is another one I just grabbed because it was an RCA Columbia. Didn't technically have the red border anymore, just a little bit on the pictures, but Sean Penn and Michael J. Fox. Plus, it was a new release. Oh. This is what, again, I've never heard of this Burt Reynolds film, but Physical Evidence. So it wasn't sealed, but it still had the plastic at least. And there was a Vestron video release, so I try to grab those when I can. This was a really unique one, though. Strapped. Okay. So this is a movie where I'm just like, what was this? I think this came out in like 1992. But the reason I grabbed it is it says that it's a Forrest Whitaker film. Like he directed it, like he was the guy making it happen. So it's basically about life in the inner city. It has Michael Biehn in it also. So it has Bokeem Woodbine. So it's like, this is probably a pretty good production. I'm curious. Never heard of it. Now this was one that I have the CBS Fox release, but this was like the original Warner Brothers release of Enter the Dragon. So cool to get that. But this was the big one. This is the one where I was just like, okay, I've never seen anything like this before, and it's still sealed. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Okay. Favorite Stories series, still sealed, okay? But what it says here, we'll start with this little, deal, is it's telling you that there's actually, savings you can get, save $5 by mail, but something called Nightmare Ned. Okay, there's a Nightmare Ned CD-ROM they want you to buy, and you open this up and it's got some layers to it you can feel. But this here is saying free storybook. So you flip it on the back, and attached in this little plastic casing is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, why they're showing the back of the book, I do not understand. You think they would want to show you the cover on here? But like I said, I mean, it's still sealed and it's amazing. So
I'm willing to bet the cover looks exactly the same as the VHS cover. So that's why they got the back on there, just to have something different. That screams grocery store checkout. Like that's my guess.
Kids, yeah.
Some display at the your local grocery store chain, and they got maybe a couple of them. Maybe it's up from October through Christmas or something like that. Yeah.
So the last piece here, that I'm just, because it's not VHS, it's not DVD, no, it's Laserdisc, and I still don't have a player. But every time I go through the vinyl record section at Goodwill, I tend to find some Laserdisc mixed in, and usually it's just it's like Ghost or like all these movies, they're pretty general. But I'd never heard of Nasty Hero. And look at him, he's got this like metal arm glove thing. So this guy here, man, I mean, it cracks me up. It's some story like about like this guy's back for revenge, and now he's got this metal punching fist.
It looks like the Nintendo glove.
It does. It totally
power glove.
looks like the power glove when you see it. Yeah. I was very excited.
Who's the build cast?
The main guy in it, let's see here. So it's Robert Sedgwick. Oh no, Scott Farrico is the main guy, and then Robert Sedgwick and Carlos Palomino. All these names I don't know. I'm pretty sure Scott Farrico is the guy who starred in Shocker. He's the main kid.
Okay.
He was Tim Allen's brother on Home Improvement. Like he's this guy, he's in 976 Evil. Like he had a very busy late 80s, early 90s, but he's bad in everything. And I don't know why he kept getting work, what everybody thought he had the look or something. But anyway, he just cracks me up. I think that's who it is. Otherwise, it's just a total unknown. But that's the closest I get. I was like, oh, he grew some stubble. Okay, maybe it's that guy.
Jeez.
Oh, but what else you got, Kevin?
All right. I can do one small, one average, or I can just knock it all out. I'm not sure how much you got.
Knock it all out. Yeah, I just got two more little things here at the end. So,
all right, Adam, you read a lot.
Do
you hate yourself and want to punish yourself for reading? Because if you do, I highly suggest, and I finally found this, so I bought it because I don't know how long it'll take me to read it, so I never wanted to spend cover price for it, but finding it for 50 cents, I'm like, yeah, sure, it's mine. House of Leaves. You aware of House of Leaves?
Not at all.
This is a puzzle of a horror novel. Okay? Because the way the book is, we have our random text here. You know, here's part of the story here, like you would expect. And then we have, trust me. So it gets a little more complicated here. You know, almost looks like a technical book. Font's getting trickier here. All right, then we got footnotes to the fictional narrative that you have to follow. Then we have whatever the heck this is.
Oh, wow.
Going on. Then we just get to like poetry and verse inside of stuff. We get crazy. It's all part of the whole story. Like the way the text is presented is part of the story. And it just gets crazier and crazier.
At your former
and
place of employment, was this a hot checkout item?
It's huge, to the point where when someone bought it, I would say, why do you hate yourself? I don't know if there is a book to go along with it to help. I'm not totally sure. I've heard rumors that there is. I think whenever I actually sit down to do it, I will need it. And then the rumor also is the guy that wrote it was good friends with 90s alternative, I'll say alternative musician Poe. You remember the song Angry Johnny?
Yeah.
And one of Poe's albums syncs up with this or is inspired by it.
What?
So if you play the album, it adds a whole other feel and level to it as well.
Now, I gotta ask you real quick, just getting back to Poe, did you only ever check out their music because of the ads in comic books? Because they were advertised in comic books like a lot.
No, I stayed up at night on the weekends because MTV, when it mattered, full rant elsewhere online, I believe I have. Headbangers Ball was Saturday night. And I think Sunday night, but maybe it was Friday. I just know we'll say weekend was either 120 Minutes or Alternative Nation. Either way, I was watching.
Pinfield, was Matt Pinfield the host of both, or just 120 Minutes?
Kennedy hosted for a while. Karen Duffy, when she was called Duff and trying to be all, you know, short-haired, punky. I mean, I'm not insulting her. She was adorable. But Karen Duffy, Kennedy, for sure, Kennedy, Matt Pinfield, and there's another I'm forgetting. There was like really indie alternative, I believe. That was like the only show that person was on.
Okay.
But I found a lot of weird stuff I didn't understand on those shows. But no, that's where I discovered Poe. It wasn't even the comic. Headbangers Ball is where I discovered Entombed Wolverine Blues, where they were promoting that as Marvel's first album.
That's crazy.
All right. I am glad that we are not doing no plastic toy packaging. I did not like that short-lived era, but seeing some stuff marked down, as our friend said, I am a toy collector, I'm not a box collector. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. So I grabbed it.
I just saw those myself. I saw a whole set in the Walmart clearance aisle.
All on clearance. I was like, you know what? What the heck? I'm going to open it up. I don't have any dice. You know, I was like, I'll open it up. I'll display it. I'll do whatever. But like, you're clearancing out. It's dirt cheap. It looks like fun.
I got to say, you got a better deal because at my local Walmart, they were $13 still.
Really?
It's not a discount.
Well, no, because they were 25 originally. So down to 5. And then I'm like, I don't even know. There was one other one. I can't remember which one right now. There's only one other one. So the rest were gone. And then, like, even those were gone the next day. All right. One of the things we've enjoyed over the years is me finding the pulp novels.
Yep.
And I'm a sucker for pretty girl art, too. As Adam's been reviewing certain things over on Wizards. There might be a Michael Turner collection somewhere in this house, too. So I found 2. And I was like, if I find 2 of these, I wonder if there's more. And I went back through all the books, and there were 5. But it is a very specific Del Rey printing of Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars novels.
Cool.
They were not all together, so I had to dig through the whole wall, but I found them. And I was just like, oh my, that movie is actually like really fun. The Disney one from a couple of years ago. It's a great story. Dynamite's doing stuff with it now too. I loved it. But Princess of Mars, got the original there. Gods of Mars, the Warlord of Mars, Thuvia, Maid of Mars, and the Chessmen of Mars. So I had to. I mean, that's gonna look great all together. So yeah, two and three were just randomly together, or else honestly, I may have looked. You know, when you're going through all of them and you're just kind of skimming. If 2 and 3 were not together, I probably would have missed them. But only because they're together, I'm like, oh, there's 2 books in series. What is this? And I was like, ooh, I want that. It's what it is. And then I went back through the whole wall and found them elsewhere, which is weird because whoever donated them together. So it's just odd that they got all mixed up along the way.
Just a box that got dumped into a cart so they could push it over there.
Yeah.
Over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, but and I was confident that the 5 were it. I did another look. I'm like, okay, I think the 5 is it. I'm grabbing these. I cannot get them for what I used to because I was the one that exploited their pricing and they had to change it.
Uh-oh.
It used to be any paperbacks were 90% off of cover. So me getting old paperbacks, I was paying like 3 cents, 5 cents each for them.
That's kind of a weird policy. You would think they just say a quarter, you know?
Yeah, they changed it. I think when I bought a stack of books for like 12 cents, they said we got changed this. Not my fault.
Oh yeah, that's great. By the way, I did look it up. The guy who starred in Nasty Hero, that's not the same guy. Peter Berg is the actor I was talking about, but they look identical. So
Nasty Hero is just such a generic, stupid, like, how have I not how did you find this and I didn't?
Yeah. Well, it feels like if I could go back in time, that would be my new screen name. That would be my online persona's Nasty Hero.
It sounds like something the Rob would come up with.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So as we close out here, one more piece of the VHS puzzle. I have, multiple VCRs. I have VCR rewinders. I have a VCR or VHS rewinder and fast forward machine, which I haven't seen. You always see the rewinder. This one has functions, which is awesome. But the one that everybody always talks about is they talk about, yeah, but what about the sports car rewinder? So I finally found one. Oh, just this classic black, pops up nicely. I made sure to test it at the store. I'm like, does it actually work? It does. So to finally have one of these, this was like an essential piece of my VHS collecting, So anyway, I was just super excited to find that and in working condition, because they don't always, it was pretty dirty. I had to clean it up, but once I did, it was ready to go. But the other thing is, so recently on one of my mini hauls, I found a whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles bed sheet set, right? A vintage set, complete in beautiful shape, sold it. Somebody's very happy with it now. So I always keep an eye out for those things when I can. I go to the linen section when I'm at Goodwill, and I found something that's a little bit newer, but no less collectible. And that was a Star Wars Episode 1. You can even see it here. This is just a wild comforter here, but it's 2-sided. So you have like the newer Naboo based spaceships there, and then you flip it over and you've got different insignias on the inside here. But again, this was in great shape, and then I looked it up, on eBay, and they sell for a good amount. Just the comforter. I was looking around for the sheets. There were no sheets to be had, but it was just kind of fun to find another one of those. Kids a little bit younger than us, they were there in '99, loving their Star Wars. They bought all the merchandise, and somebody was snuggling up with that comforter at night. So they're going to want to relive that. Now I can deliver that to them. But anyway, that is the end of my haul. This was quite an adventure. We found some good stuff.
We did. We found some cool stuff. I found ridiculous stuff. I found stuff I'm excited about. I found stuff as I'm rearranging my shelves and trying to make. At this point, it's a continuous project. I am aware of it.
how it goes. And yeah, my office is a mess right now. I'm just trying to get everything organized too. But I will say, as we continue on here, and we are going to continue on as we said at the top, we may not have as much luck every time out. Every time we're trying to get back together, might be slim pickings. You never know. And as is the case, in keeping with the tradition of this show, we want to have a third member of the thrift store horde. Can you really have a horde with just two? I don't know if it counts, so you gotta get the ranks growing. And so we have another member of the Retro Network family who is constantly, like, really, if you follow any of his social media sites, he's constantly at the thrift stores, always making great finds, a lot of finds that Kevin and I would be very interested in as well. Comic book stuff, everything along those lines. So Chris Bailey has already agreed to join our thrift store horde coming in 2024. And so he will be a part of this experience, this adventure, as we continue thrifting into the new year. So just wanted to give you a heads up. That's something to look forward to. But in the meantime, make sure you're subscribed here on TRN TV and everything on YouTube that's coming your way. There's a lot more to come. I'm actually going to be heading up a lot of the YouTube things going forward. So Wax Pack Flashback is continuing, and all these other series that you've loved so far, and probably some new stuff to come, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks again for joining us for this, and we'll check you later.